Good afternoon. Thank you for coming so many on a Sunday afternoon with the beautiful weather. I'm Olivier Mellet, Hardiman Director of the Clark Art Institute. I would like first to thank the Royal Norwegian Consulate General in New York, who provided support for this program. Why Norwegian Consulate General in New York? Because in fact there is many Norwegian artists such as Harriet Backer, Kitty Killen and Asta Norgard that are representing the women artists in Paris exhibition. But my role today is to introduce Esther Bell, who is our Robert and Martha Berman-Lipp Senior Curator at the Clark Art Institute. Prior to joining recently at the Clark, Bell had a long career working in various positions at the Fine Art Museums of San Francisco, Cincinnati Art Museum, the Morgan Library and Museum, and the Metropolitan Museum of Art, no less than this. While serving as curator in charge of European painting at the Fine Art Museum in San Francisco, Esther organized a number of important exhibitions, including Degas Impressionism and the Paris Millenary Trade, and the brothers Le Nain, painters of 17th century France, who went then to the Kimball and then to the Louvre in France. Bell received her doctorate in the history of art from the Institute of Fine Art in New York University. She earned a master's degree, not so far from here, from William Frederick's program in the history of art, and a bachelor's degree in the history of art from the University of Virginia. She completed a Fulbright fellowship at the Musée du Louvre in 2003, and it was then that, in fact, I met for the first time Esther here in the library in 2002 when the director of the program, Mark, told me that there was a student going to Paris the following year, and it would be good if I could meet her and to give her some advice. And since then, we never really stopped seeing each other. Please welcome Esther Bell. Thank you.
I'm the senior curator here at the Clark, and it's my great honor to introduce today Women Artists in Paris 1850 to 1900. This exhibition was organized by the American Federation of the Arts, and it opened at the Denver Art Museum last October, and then it traveled to the Speed in Louisville, Kentucky, and the Clark is its final venue. And today I will be sharing with you only a handful of about 69 paintings that are part of this exhibition by 36 international women artists on view in the Lower Clark Gallery. And following my introduction, I will be joined by Laurence Madeline on stage here for a conversation. Laurence is the organizing curator of this exhibition and is a great scholar of 19th and 20th century art. And we will be discussing many paintings in depth, as well as greater questions about art making, gender, pedagogy, and the various social structures of the 19th century. So before I turn to women artists very quickly, I want to just mention the other very exceptional exhibitions we have this summer. Here we have the Art of Iron, objects from the Musée de Secte-Étournel Rouen, Normandy, a fabulous show organized by Kathy Morris, which opened yesterday. And this exhibition features historic shop signs, grills, cabaret signs, balcony railings, even a bear muzzle. So gotta go see it. And it tells the story of pre-industrial times and highlights the importance of honor in our shared past. Then on June 30th, we will open this exhibition, Jennifer Steinkamp, Blind Eye. This is the Clark's first ever video art installation in the Tadao Ando Munder Center on Stone Hill. Steinkamp is a Los Angeles-based video artist who digitally animates natural and abstract forms on such subjects as the passage of time, nature, beauty, death, and the evolution of organic matter. We're all very excited about this exhibition. Jennifer Steinkamp will be with us later this month for a conversation in the same room, so we'll come back to that. And finally, on July 1st, because it's slowly moving, On July 1st, we will open this exhibition, City Transformed, Photographs of Paris, 1850 to 1900. This exhibition is 30 photographs from our collection, also from lenders, featuring such photographers as Charles Marville, which create a visual archive of Paris in the so-called age of construction. And this will provide a really wonderful counterpart to women artists in Paris, which is the subject of our program today. So, I will begin. All distinctions disappear in the studio. I have neither name nor family. I'm not my mother's daughter. I am myself, an individual with art in front of me, art and nothing else. I feel so free, so happy, so proud. I will be what no woman artist has ever been before. So this is a diary entry of October 6, 1877, written by one of the most persistent advocates for a dedicated Women's Art Academy in the 19th century, the painter Marie Bashkirtseff. And long before Marie Bashkirtseff, women have long been denied, questioned, and generally shut out of the pedagogical and institutional structures that were available to their male counterparts. The foremost institution of academic training, the Académie Royale de Peinture et de Sculpture, or the French Royal Academy, had a long and storied past in relation to its female academicians. It was founded in 1648 in an attempt to elevate the arts from a manual craft and to turn it into an intellectual pursuit. And the Academy held regular salons to exhibit the works of its members. But between 1663, when the first woman was admitted, and until the eve of the Revolution, only 15 women were invited to participate in these exhibitions. By 1855, women still represented less than 7% of the artists invited to publicly exhibit in the salon, and this figure would increase to only 20% by 1877. So women were at a perpetual disadvantage. In a landmark essay, first published in Art News in January of 1971, the very great, recently deceased Linda Nochlin posed the question, why have there been no great women artists? And Laurence and I are going to discuss this in a minute, but for now, I want to just share you a short passage from Nochlin's essay, which is about 50 years old, and it is still as sharp and disquieting as its date of original publication. And Nochlin writes, the question, why have there been no great women artists, has led us to the conclusion that art is not a free, autonomous activity of a super-endowed individual, but rather that the total situation of art making, both in terms of the development of the art makers and in the nature and quality of the work of art itself, are mediated and determined by specific and definable social institutions, be they art academies, systems of patronage, or mythologies of the divine creator. So just to paraphrase Linda Nochlin's argument, how could there possibly be great women artists or great women composers or mathematicians or engineers or philosophers when women were systematically excluded from the institutions that were training their counterparts? So up until 1897, women were not granted membership to the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, and this exclusion was based on the grounds that it was indecent for women to study from the nude model and attend autonomy classes. So as a result, women could not become history painters, the most elevated of academic genres, because this required a mastery of the human form. Women were thus relegated to the minor arts, fan painting, ceramic painting, porcelain, stillettes and flowers. But a key turn in the liberation of the women artists was the establishment of private academies throughout the city, the most prominent being the Académie Julian, named for its founder, Rodolphe Julian. And at Julien's, women were given face time with leading academicians such as William Bouguereau, Gustave Boulanger, Jules Lefebvre, and many others. And even more importantly, they now had access to live models. So by 1890, Rodolphe Julian had established 9 different studios, 5 for men and 4 for women. And its merits were extolled all over the world, certainly in the United States. And here I'm showing you a manual published in Boston in 1887, filled with practical information for young women hoping to study abroad. And here you see the address, or you don't see the address, but you see the address of Julien's Studio for Women and how much it would cost to enroll in these classes. And you see here no vacations at the Academy. Later, I don't show it to you here, but later in this manual, the author warns the readers that the conditions in the women's studio were far from ideal, stating that the air was so close and the heat so intense, it seemed impossible that anyone could ever accomplish anything serious there. So Marie Vacher-Cassatt reveals much about Julien's studio in her diary, and her diary, by the way, is published soon after she dies at the age of 25 of tuberculosis. But her diary became an almost immediate success because it's very juicy, and it revealed many such descriptions of artistic rivalry, challenges faced by women painters, and moreover the challenges of being a foreigner in Paris in the 1870s and 80s. And her prose is often painfully immature, maudlin and self-conscious, but it's very poignant in the end. I encourage you to download it on your Kindle in English. But she reveals an acute awareness of her own limitations. And I just want to read you one more passage from January 2nd, 1879. And she writes, "I long for freedom to go outside alone, to go and come, to sit on a bench at the Jardin de Tuileries, to look at the decorated store windows, to enter churches and museums, to stroll in the streets by myself. This is what I envy. Without this freedom, one can't become a great artist. How can I profit from what I see when I must be accompanied by a chaperone, or wait for my family to go to the Louvre? It's hell. That's when I rage about being a woman. I'm going to go and buy plain clothes and a wig. I'll make myself so ugly that I'll be as free as a man. If women were brought up like men, the inequality I detest would vanish and leave behind only whatever sort is inherent in nature itself. Well, whatever I say, women will have to scream a lot and make themselves ridiculous to obtain this equality even in 100 years. That was more than 100 years ago. So here I'm showing you in the studio of 1881. This is a subject that Rodolphe Julien encouraged Marie Vacher-Cassatt to take on because it gave her an opportunity to display his skill at portraiture and anatomy, but it was also an advertisement for his business. And here she depicts her fellow students working from a live model. She's placed herself at center. But we can learn a lot about the studio, judging from their costumes. These are international women and of varying social status. And she presents the internal dynamics of the studio space as both collaborative and competitive. You'll note that right here before her, she has placed a crumpled newspaper, Le Figaro, which was at the time considered inappropriate and irrelevant to women. Women were more appropriately restricted to illustrated magazines and romantic novels. But prominently positioned on the floor in front of our protagonist, the newspaper serves to support her dirty brushes, but also forms part of the paraphernalia of professionalism that asserts her identity. So Vacher-Cassatt reveals much about the complex system of artistic sociability at play in the studio, including the rivalry that she had with this artist, Louise Catherine-Breslau, an incredibly skilled and perhaps lesser-known painter who I believe certainly emerges as one of the revelations of this exhibition. Born in Munich and raised in Zurich, Breslau moved to Paris in 1878 to enroll at the Académie Julien. Admitted to the salon for the first time in 1879, and shortly thereafter opens her own studio. She would go on to, by the way, serve on the jury of the salon, and she would become the first foreign woman to win the Légion d'honneur. So Breslau created a number of portraits of her friends and fellow artists, and here she depicts three women in various states of thoughtful contemplation, from serious reflection to intense meditation to artistic creation. And these are in fact her roommates, Sophie Chappie, a painter, at center, and Maria Feller, a singer, that you see at left. And this was the first big success that she had at the Salon of 1881, where she earned honorable mention for this painting. So this canvas, by the way, is 6 feet wide. It's sober, dense, and the women's activities were quiet and serious. They're thinking, writing, and painting. This is her self-portrait. And the painting's circular composition highlights the cohesiveness of the group, including the dog, right here, and this fabulous wet-on-wet brush strokes of white paint. The animal is looking down to call attention to this really skilled still life in the foreground. But the centrality of the dog ultimately opened the painting up to ridicule, and a caricature was published soon after its Salon exhibition, in which the three women are replaced with dogs and given the title La Famille de Zoé Chien Chien, the family of Zoe the dog. Stripping the women of their agency and turning them into domesticated animals. So Paris was not only a host to many Americans, but also a thriving community of Nordic artists from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland and Iceland. And I think Rosa and I will touch upon this later. And it's important for you to remember that in the Nordic countries, women were among the very first to win the right to vote. And in the Nordic countries, they were widely regarded, or those countries were regarded as having adopted an attitude towards gender equality far earlier than their continental counterparts. The Nordic artists tended to congregate together, go to the Louvre with one another, and they enrolled en masse at the private academies. And here I want to show you one of the great self-portraits in our exhibition. This is by Mina Karlsson Bredberg, a Swedish artist. This was exhibited in the Exposition Universelle in 1889. And here we've just interrupted the artist in her studio, which we can tell from the window is on the very top floor of a building, probably the maids' quarters. These lovely chimneys that you see. If you're in the maids' quarters, if your studio is in the maids' quarters, you're climbing up at least 6 flights of stairs, and it's not entirely comfortable. It would have been very hot in the summer and cold in the winter. However, she doesn't seem to be unhappy, and the space is entirely her own, and her body is really encompassing the picture frame. But what I want to call to your attention, and to just remind you to remember this when you go down to the galleries, is that this painting is even more radical in person, and it's very much, the artist is giving great attention to texture, such as this little blob of paint, which might seem insignificant at first, but it's meant to be the white paint upon her palette. But when you look at it in person, it's this peak of white pigment, it's a mass, and it's operating as a quasi-signature. She is marking her object. And it's a statement of her ownership of the image, a statement of her artistic status. Her proper signature, by the way, is right here, on the stretcher bar, a mise en abîme, a transmedial act of creation. And this is what I wanted to also show you. We discovered this when we were unpacking the painting just a few days ago. The backs of paintings are often as fun and exciting as the fronts of them. And these are the stickers that were applied before that Exposition Universelle in 1889. So we don't often see these. It's really a nice discovery. So as Marie Bashk herself reminded us, social conventions in Paris in the late 19th century discouraged from women going out in public alone and required that they have a chaperone, whether to go to the cafe or the Louvre. And many of the paintings, therefore, in our exhibition reveal profound insight into the psychological complexities of the interior, and oftentimes the sitter's gaze becomes a powerful metaphor for the creativity and introspection of women within the private sphere. And here I'm showing you a very astonishing, this is pastel on canvas, it's incredibly large scale, by the artist Amélie Borghi-Sorel. She's depicting a woman alone. We don't know if she's in an interior, exterior, likely interior, and she's smoking a cigarette. This, by the way, is not a very polite pastime for women. Women who smoked were often outsiders or deviants, actresses or prostitutes, degenerate society women, or new modern women. And here the sitter appears to be independent and confident, which is some qualities thus transposed onto the artist herself. One of the most compelling, and meditative images of the private domain is this one. This is Berthe Morisot's At the Toilette of 1875 from the Art Institute of Chicago's only part of this video here at the Clark. And this is arguably Morisot's masterpiece. It was exhibited in the 7th Impressionist exhibition in 1880 to critical acclaim. And I should remind you that Morisot was born in an affluent family, and her family was able to support her artistic training and that of her sisters. And here is another work in the exhibition, Edna Pontillon, Berthe Morisot's sister. This is the only surviving portrait by Edna of Berthe, and it's quite remarkable. To go back to this painting, it's consistent with that impressionist aesthetic that she was fervently espousing in this period, and she's capturing a scene of modern life, though in summary understated terms. But it is also a statement about the act of painting. The notion of a woman applying her makeup had a long tradition of being read as an act of artifice. The depiction of the application, and makeup can operate as a metaphor of a painting's capacity to create illusion. And here she's rendering the surface in these wonderfully feathered, nuanced shades of lavender and pink and white and gray, predominantly white, which reveals her great skill. And the viewer, we, are privy to a very private moment. We see nothing of her face, and she offers us no acknowledgement. She is a surrogate for the woman painter. And as the great art historian Anne Bonheur has noted, the toilette, or the ritual of dressing, represents a moment during which a woman becomes vulnerable to the masculine gaze. But it is also the moment of the most creative act of intimate feminine creativity. During the toilette, a woman produces her self-image. So Morisot complicates this by a central placement of the cosmetics table, as much, and here, by the way, the beauty is residing not in her, because we can't see her face, but in the objects that are surrounding her. And the mirror, as I've already said, does not reflect her, but it only reflects the wonderful display of paint strokes. So in this way, in its hyper attention to artifice, this painting is an ode to the act of painting itself. It is Morisot's manifesto, and it's a complete demonstration of her commitment to her art, so we are very happy to have it here. So alongside Morisot, Mary Cassatt was also part of the Impressionist vanguard. She was born into a wealthy family in Pittsburgh, trained at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts in Philadelphia, and moves permanently to Paris in 1874, and her sister Lydia, who you see here, and her family would join her. This is on loan from the Petit Palais to our exhibition. Cassatt would exhibit with the Impressionists, become a close friend of Edvard Degas, and she is perhaps, though, best known as a painter of children. And she certainly commanded the market for pictures such as this loan from the National Gallery. But she instills these, even though they're sweet, she instills them with a practical realism that avoided sentimentality. Now, Cassatt was a reluctant feminist. In the spring of 1892, when she was 48 years old, she is visited in her Parisian apartment by two Americans, Berthe Palmer, the president of the board of lady managers of the Women's Building for the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, and Sarah Hallowell, the curator of that exhibition. And their purpose was to commission a 14 by 58 foot wide mural for the Hall of Honor, and the subject was the modern woman. Cassatt wrote to her good friend back in the United States, her patroness, Louisine Havemeyer, in 1892, and she says, "I'm going to do a decoration for the Chicago exhibition. When the committee offered me the commission, I was horrified. But gradually I began to think it could be fun, and it's something I've never done before. The idea of such a thing put Degas in such a rage, he did not spare a single criticism he could think of." So Cassatt and Degas had initially bristled at the idea of being called out as a woman artist rather than just an artist. But the temptation to elevate her sex through a large, bold, very visible mural was too seductive, and it offered her a chance to not only show what made women new, but what made art modern. After the fair, by the way, the mural is taken down, and we believe it's probably destroyed or rotting in a basement somewhere. Now, this work in our exhibition for the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts is related to the central panel of that commission. Here, Cassatt depicts a young woman holding down the branch of an apple tree so that this child can pick the fruit. And this might seem obviously like a derivation of the story of Eve, but Cassatt's intent was not biblical in nature. She described the theme as young women plucking the fruits of knowledge or science, and she viewed the composition as a moment of seriousness, a celebration of new opportunities for women in education, and a sense of the responsibility that this entailed. So while Cassatt and other women of her class might not have thought of themselves as political feminists, during the 1890s, certainly something Laurence will speak about in a minute, the Women's Building mural does in fact send a strong feminist message. Its central image spoke metaphorically of the passing of knowledge from woman to woman and to the next generation. It is an embodiment of the feminist insistence of empowering the modern woman by giving her a public voice. So a striking example of an empowered modern woman, though it might seem unlikely at first glance here, is this painting by Annie Hopst called The Autopsy. And we know very little about this artist's biography. We know she was born in Switzerland, trained in Berlin, moves to Paris in 1892, where she can be documented at the Académie Julian. But since we know so little of her life and her greater body of work, what can we read into this image? So it's obviously a grimly realistic painting. This is a known person, Dr. Poitier in Paris, who was a man about town, a dandy. And he's making an incision on the corpse right here. In person, it's actually much better. He's flipping back the skin, with bright, shocking red paint visible to our eye. But it's the way that the body is encroaching on the space, the feet hitting the margin, the head almost hitting the side over here, and the body is in the process of decomposing. So it might be a little shocking to our sensibilities. But in fact, the artist is showing her knowledge of the history of art. By the 19th century, the representation of autopsies and dissections as a painted genre had a long history. Of course, you know this image right here, and of only a few years earlier, the Gross Clinic by Thomas Eakins. Now, Hopp is also perhaps referencing a popular, though discouraged and gross pastime, and that was of visiting the morgue. So for more than a century, Parisians and tourists alike had flocked to the public spectacle of death. The morgue sat on a convenient site behind Notre Dame Cathedral, and it was seemingly purpose-built for visitors. Inside, the public could look through long rows of tall windows onto the dead bodies. Electric lights were even installed in 1888 to enhance the dramatic effect. But while the subject is daring because of the implied space and the body and etc., it's radical because of the depiction of the male nude, even though we can't entirely see him, but it's implied. You have to remember that in order to render human anatomy accurately, this had been a long and valued measure of an artist's skill, and it was one of the reasons women were not allowed at the École des Beaux-Arts. So her skills implied that she had taken advantage of classes in alternative spaces, such as that at the Académie Julian. And it's a bold statement of the types of subjects that women artists like Rembrandt before her should have no fear in treating. So the artist who in many ways best exemplifies the fearless woman artist is this one right here, Rosa Bonheur. Rosa Bonheur eschewed her local artistic community near the village of Barbizon. She ignored rules of sartorial propriety, and she altogether rejected the greater social norms considered appropriate to her gender. Nonetheless, she became the most celebrated and financially successful woman painter and sculptor of her time. And she even had a doll made after her. She was so successful. She was invited by Queen Victoria to Buckingham Palace and was admired by Empress Eugenie and Buffalo Bill alike. She was born in Bordeaux in 1822 and trained, like so many of these women artists did, with her father. And she was precocious and talented, started making copies in the Louvre at the age of 14, and first exhibited at the Salon in 1841. But instead of becoming a landscapist or a portraitist, let alone a flower painter, a decorative painter, she specialized in animal painting. And she frequented slaughterhouses and she dissected animals to gain anatomical knowledge. She purchased a chateau, which I highly encourage everyone to visit. Fabulous little museum where you can visit her studio, as if they'd shut the doors 100 years ago and not opened them. It's relatively close to the forest of Fontainebleau, and here she kept a menagerie of animals. Here's another shot of the studio. But a menagerie of animals, including horses, oxen, goats, sheep, and mules, which she sketched from life. And here is a picture of her with her pet lion, Fatma. So Bonheur was obviously something of an oddity among her peers, not only because of the eccentric studio, the menagerie, but she also lived with her longtime partner, who was a woman, and she had obtained an official permit from the Paris police to wear pants in public, which was not allowed at the time. But she claimed that in order to sketch the city's horse markets without attention, that this was necessary. The cult of celebrity around Rosa Bonheur, by the way, has completely made us incapable of appreciating and looking carefully at her work, which is quite exceptional. Here I'm showing you the Clown of Nivernais. In our exhibition, this is the type of ambitious composition that earned her reputation. It is a copy of a painting that she had exhibited in the Salon in 1849, and it had been so successful that she was commissioned to make replicas, and this is one such example. But I want to read you just a quick snippet from the critic Eugène de Mirecourt, who encounters this painting, The Plowing of Nivernais, in 1856. And he writes, When people looked at Bonheur's paintings, at these enormous white or red oxen with their clear eyes and foaming muzzles, they were surprised to feel something true and serious. They were moved by the peaceful, natural sight of these sheep grazing on tasty meadow of mountain grass. They felt ecstasy looking at these landscapes that have such a melancholy, creamy charm, such an abundance of sweet country smells. So Mirecourt's passage literally associates Bonheur with the French terroir. For Mirecourt, Bonheur's painting is the essence of France, which is confounding in light of my introduction today, that Bonheur has come to embody the Frenchness that both men and women readily embraced. But might this have come easier to her because of a disavowal of traditional femininity, because of a cult of celebrity that centered on her otherness, on her pants? So I started this introduction with a passage from Marie Cassatt's diary, as I'm going to end there too before inviting the Ross on stage. On August 31st, 1877, Cassatt wrote, "I spend the best years of my life unseen by anyone. Paris, it's a tomb for me." So the aim of this exhibition is to see and to study and to seriously contemplate artists who accomplish extraordinary feats despite the societal and institutional restrictions placed on them. These women challenged the many critics who adamantly argued that genius was male. We still have a lot of work to do in the history of art, in our museums, in our classrooms, to acknowledge the accomplishments of women. And only through exhibitions such as this one, spearheaded by Laurence Madeleine, can we work to rewrite new histories. So now I'd like to ask Laurence to come meet me on stage. And as she comes up, I'm going to introduce her to you. So, Laurence Madeleine boasts a very impressive resume that demonstrates her renown as a curator and scholar of 19th and 20th century art, and particularly as a leading specialist of Pablo Picasso. She is currently chief curator for French National Heritage, and her many prior curatorial roles, she's organized too many exhibitions to list here right now, so I'm going to highlight a few of them, a few recent ones and all very successful. Currently taking place in Geneva is Hodler Parallelism, Picasso 1932, which has received really great reviews. It's currently on view at the Tate Modern in London. She has organized Courbet, The Swiss Years in 2014, Rodin, Accident Random in 2014, James Ensor in 2009, and many more exhibitions, again devoted to Picasso. She's the author of numerous publications, and she was the lead author of the publication that I hope you'll buy directly after this program, devoted to women artists in Paris 1850 to 1900. So thank you, Laurence, and I will now come join you.
Thank you very much, Esther. And you said so much that there is still things to do, to say, but a lot of already said. But I have to say that it hurts a little my deep feminism, but I feel I had to apologize to be in front of you just like a little Rosa Bonheur, because I wanted to enjoy this morning the trails around, and I forgot my bag with the most suitable outfit, so please sorry, I feel really, really rude, and please forgive me. Thank you. Sorry. So, women artists in Paris. Esther said a lot. I would just like, through our conversation, to make some reflections which will go further and back and so on the story of this show and what has changed, because you won't believe it. It took something like 10 years to make this show for different reasons. It was not my full-time job, but 10 years. What is interesting is that within these 10 years, a lot of things happened regarding the women and the place of the women. And it goes even faster because this last month, so many things has changed regarding the position of the women in our society that we can see there are a lot of which has been done, a lot to do yet. So when I started, 2008, I had a first checklist, and among this, in this checklist, I started to go and visit my colleagues and say, do you think that it would be possible? And I had absolutely no problems. The only problems I had to get the loans is when the paintings were in deep storage. Sometimes nobody knew where they were, or sometimes they were in such a bad condition that we could not think about having them in the show, and that was it. But we had not this kind of problem that I met 7 or 8 years later, when it was the right moment to make the show and have the final checklist, with some artists which became kind of icons of the permanent collection. For example, Elin Danielson-Gambogi, I will start with this painting, which is absolutely gorgeous, beautiful painting, beautiful lady, wonderful artist, who happened to, when I first saw it, it was, okay, perhaps, yes, certainly. But when I went back to Oslo, to Helsinki, where this painting belonged, it was hung, displayed in such a way that it was not possible anymore to have the painting. And why? It happened because all the studies, thanks of course of Linda Nochlin, and because it became more and more, there were more and more people involved with the question of the women artists, and the Scandinavian were the first, really pioneering in this study of their own women artists. So an artist like Danielson-Gambogi already had this recognition that some of the other artists will have later. I have put, I just would like to, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I put here some quotations because we always have to remember what was the situation for the women artists during the 19th century. And we will go back to this kind of very nice sentence. For example, why would we open the School for Fine Arts to women who certainly will not have the ability, capacity to stay, and which won't assume their will to become artists. Okay.
You can talk and you can read at the same time. So, Rosa, can I just ask you, there are, I think for many people who go to see the exhibition, there are artists that are new discoveries. And can you talk a little bit about how you formulated the checklist, and did you knowingly, for yourself, include artists that were new to you? I mean, was that part of your methodology?
Yes, I wanted to, first, an exhibition is making choices, as you know. And so my first choices were to have artists who were fully committed to their art. I didn't want to have amateur. It was really my first choice. Second choice, it was to have paintings which had such a quality that you could not say, oh, it is an amateur, or it's sometimes, well, what is this painting? Is it and that's a question even doesn't rise, question of male or female. And then I wanted to have a large panel of artists coming from all parts from Europe or the United States mainly, and study in Paris, and show that they were fully aware of the debates of their times. We see artists which are interested in naturalism. A lot of them were interested in Jules Bastien Lepage, for example. He had such an importance. And then Impressionism, of course. And at the end, we see how much they were important for the development of symbolism, because at this moment they were fully trained, they had access to training, and so they were ready to have and to step in this new movement that was started, the symbolism. So the choice were to have Of course, there are some artists like Cassatt or Morisot, which were known forever, Rosa Bonheur, of course, but I try to open and to have, and there are artists that I really discovered, and at the last minute, like Marie Petier, I didn't know her, and thankfully, good things happened for the women. There was a show in her city where she was born and where she died, and so it allowed to have a new painting.
Exactly. And so Marie Cassatt is an artist that I referenced several times. How difficult was it to borrow that incredible in the studio? I mean, is Marie Cassatt for someone who has really, through your past 9-10 years working on the project, grown in her fame?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, she was famous as soon as she became famous as soon as she died. There was an exhibition of her work organized after her death. Her mother was very behind this posthumous glorification of her daughter. What is interesting is that all the things that you can apply to a hero, you can apply to Marie Cassatt. So women were able to be artists, able to become heroes, because she had everything to become a hero, a passionate life, very short, a very painful death of tuberculosis, and a career just started. And her mother did a lot, publishing the catalogue, having this exhibition, lying on the age of her daughter, because it's better for the posterity to have to die earlier and younger than what she actually did. So we see everything of the myth already set up. And for example, it's interesting to see that Berthe Morisot visited the show after Cassatt's death, and she with Marie Cassatt. And so they said, we are absolutely fond of the diary. She was really interesting, but well, I don't like the painting. It was, so they were interested in this character of Marie Cassatt. So this painting, for example, she's so famous. You know, that painting is in Nice, in France. Great land for Russian people because it came from Russia. So an icon, impossible to have this painting for the show. I'm sorry, I did a lot, I went to Nice and so on, could not get it. But the other one, from Ukraine, for example, it was 10 years. I started to have negotiation with people there, and there were some political events. I was really frightened we could not have it, and we had it. So it's wonderful because it quite never goes out Ukraine.
And this is an artist that Virginie de Montbreton, who unfortunately is not part of the Clark presentation, but it was an incredible and outspoken feminist in her time. And so I'm sorry, Laurence, that she could not be here. But maybe you could just speak a bit to her art and the importance that she played within the greater kind of women's movement in the late 19th century.
Well, she was fully committed to the painting, to the feminism, and with all the women fights. She has been the second president of the Union of the Women and Artists and Sculptors, so very important. She was the daughter of a painter. You have a wonderful Breton in the exhibition, and she really wanted to rewrite the story with women as heroes or men, like you have this Fisher here. The painting that we don't have here shows women, the fishermen wives, waiting for the men, knowing that they will have to support the family if he doesn't come, because it was what happened to a lot of women. And so she wanted to rewrite the French history through humble men, fishermen, for example, but as well through women. And she made some paintings, including Joan of Arc. She was not the only one, but she really wanted to put the women in a better situation in her paintings and in the history. Unfortunately, it is something that it's really a very, it's just like, please, somebody go and study very well, better, sorry. Virginie de Montbreton, because most of her paintings have disappeared. She were, for example, this one was at the Musée de Dunkerque. Okay, so what? Now we don't even know where it is, what is the condition, and she was really, really important. And so it is what happened. Women were quite present in the Salon des Beaux-Arts during and more. The French government bought some of the paintings. For example, I wanted to show this painting by Mademoiselle Marie Escolier, which is on the left, very sentimental, but scene of a cemetery, the widow going mourning and so on. And now it is in such bad condition that we can't even know what was the exact quality of the painting. A lot remains to do in order to know what was exactly this painting, because we know that this painting exists. We have very, very bad photo of a very bad, the painting in such a condition we don't know. So it's still very difficult to have a full idea of what was showed, what was produced by women, because paintings missing, paintings in bad conditions.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to show that this painting by Émile Friant, which is really the same moment as the previous one we saw, which is bad condition, stayed in a very good condition, and it is quite the same subject and the same sentimentalism. It is not just the women who could have this too much feeling in this painting. Here is Émile Friant, but it has been bought by the French government, sent in Nancy, and now you can see it in Nancy, no problems.
Right.
And Marie Petier has been, I told you that within 10 years a lot of things change. And for example, this little museum of Limoux realized that they had this painter and decided to make a show on Marie Petier. And it was a very, very good news that they had this show, because I didn't know Marie Petier, and so she appeared. I was very happy, but at the same time, they were so proud of Marie Petier that it was very difficult to get the loan. I must say that I wanted to have this one because you see in the laundress all this question. Marie Bashkirtseff read L'Assommoir by Zola. It really changed her way of seeing what she had to paint, because I told you women was part of all the debates, style and subjects. So she realized that there was something to do with modern life, and so did Marie Petier. And of course, you can see a scene of Zola in the laundress, but they are very happy to have this painting, and they want to keep it. But we had these very interesting young women in church, and I'm very happy to have it. Very interesting artists.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those two, when I started the project, I was at the Musée d'Orsay already as chief curator, and these paintings were not on display. And when I went back to I always at the Musée d'Orsay, but at some moment I saw that they were in permanent collection. I was like, ooh, I hope we will have them. And so we had them, not this one which is not here, but we had the two. But this is this kind of work which were in storage, and at some moment within the 10 years they came out just like coming out the closet. They came out the storage, and as very good news made the show a little more difficult.
But advancing the cause. Right?
Yeah.
And then Schefbeck, this is an artist that might be a little bit newer to our audiences, but is again a revelation.
Yeah, I was both absolutely happy and excited when I saw that there was a big show in Paris at the Musée d'Art Moderne de la Ville de Paris on this artist. I knew her since a long time. I really, really loved her, wanted to have her in the show. And when I saw the show, I said, okay, that's it. She's, everybody will know, it will make the loans more difficult. So I was both excited and frightened. And she has just, everybody who visited the show, they were just like, what an artist, wonderful artist. Unfortunately, we have some very, very great paintings of Ellen Scherberg in the show, including this young girl of 10 that I like very much. It's just like an image of her own childhood, very difficult because she was poor, because she was ill, and she was the best friend of Marianne Stokes, we previously saw, and there was a big story between the women.
Absolutely, so many communities. And Paula Modersohn-Becker.
Same story, not very well known, and at some point she just popped up like that on the show at the Musée d'Art Moderne de la Ville de Paris. And same anxiety for me, will we be able, mostly because there is a very famous writer in France, Marie Darrieussecq, who published a book at the same time on Paula Modersohn-Becker, and I was absolutely desperate, but for this artist, which is not always the case, there are very beautiful works in the United States.
Absolutely. So we have one from the Chrysler Museum in our exhibition, and also from private collection. And the Museum of Modern Art just famously acquired a Modersohn-Becker not so long ago. So one of these artists, I mean, there are many books written on her, but is really having a moment.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's another beautiful picture from 1901. And had a short life, but was incredibly prolific.
Absolutely, very prolific, and going from Germany to Paris, Paris from Germany, and trying to make her own path with being married with a painter. But she really had this beautiful short career and wrote a lot.
And then Ellen Zeslov. I know we're going to get back to this one at the end, but it's a very important painting to the whole concept of the exhibition.
I wanted to finish the show with this painting. I must say, I'm sorry, that I am a mother of 2 daughters, and I wanted to give them the strength of this painting. You know, this very young girl who discovers her power, her capacity to interfere with the world because she's screaming. I have a voice, I can say something, and the echo makes the voice coming back to her, and she exists and she feels her own power. And I wanted that through this painting, we say that we have done a lot, but there is so much to do, and that girl power, go and feel free to be whatever you want to be.
Absolutely. And so I wanted just now to segue into some of the themes of the exhibition, which I didn't really touch upon. So I'm hoping that you can do that. And here we see 2 images of, maternal images. Are these the types of paintings that women were expected to paint?
Yeah, the question was exactly not, of course, these women have centuries of a certain kind of life, where it is said that why would a woman be a creator? She has to do the best creation in the world. She's the one who will make the children and raise the children. This is enough for a woman. This is the way they have to be creative, raising their children. So this is the area where they had to make their own lives. And so it is a kind of obvious subject for a woman to have to paint the children, but men all paint some children as well. And is there any difference between a woman? What happened is that I realized that when I gathered this painting, is that there were a lot of subjects around men and women, and you talked about Marie Cassatt. She had no children, but she could make her career because her commissioners were expecting from her to make children, because it is just like, oh, you are a woman, you will paint children, this is your area. But fortunately, some of them can do something else. And in the other way, Renoir was very popular for his portraits of children as well.
Absolutely. And maybe along those lines, we'll skip ahead just a minute to also the question of fashion. And we have a narrative section called The Fashioning of an Image. But here we see an image by Marie Franquemont and Paul Cézanne. And maybe you can talk about kind of the paradox of the subject of fashion between male and female artists.
In fact, in this story of female artists, there are a lot of paradoxes, and when the male critics were expecting from women to give them an image of what were their lives, their home, their feelings, and so on. And so did the women, because it was the area where they lived, what they always lived and experienced. So they were ready to do that. In the same time, what is really fascinating is that men had more and more interest in what was the women's daily life, having a lot of paintings inside living rooms and bedrooms and so on, because we have Berthe Morisot, but we have Degas, who was very interested in fashion and so on, which were what would be more feminine subjects. And here you have Marie Bracmont with her three graphs, with this fashion, and just like you said it perfectly, it is the place of the modernity. This is what Baudelaire said. The modernity is in the fashion, in the way that a man will have his clothes, a woman as well. And remember Duranty in his famous pamphlet of 1977, if I remember correctly, who said that it is through the costumes that you will know what is the society. So women do, and Cézanne, which is not known being the more feminist ever. Another of paradox. You can't just say that because you are progressive in your painting, you will be progressive in the fight for women.
Right.
It's really not. It doesn't go in the same time. For example, very good example. Wonderful. Nathanson, La Revue Blanche, which was one of the review of d'avant-garde, a review which supported Wagner when there was a big fight around Wagner, who supported Dreyfus, which was another very non-conservative situation. And read what Nathanson said about women artists at the very end of the century. It doesn't go. It's not because you are progressive in your opinion that you will pay attention to a woman that will try to be creative and try to make her own way. For example, one of the most supportive artists for women was Jules Bastien Lepage, who has. It took such a long time for art history to acknowledge Jules Bastien Lepage, because he was considered like a very academic painter and so on, and he was the one who was the most committed to help women to go to the salon and to train and so on. So it's not a very easy story. Well,
another example of
absolutely. Or how do you call it? The scène d'intérieur? Isn't it? Scène d'intérieur.
In interior.
Yeah, you see that Cabot was interested in this kind of scene, just like Marie Bracmont. One will say, oh, it's because the women can't go out. There is a question of society at this time. But you see that Cabot, who was a man perfectly able to go out and so on, was interested as well in this representation of interiors.
Absolutely.
Well, and you have this kind of very anecdotic, suggestive, and so on painting by a woman, and you see that James Tissot and or Stevens, you have a lot here, who, this is the kind of subject, you can read it in the criticism, that critics are expecting from women. Show us our lives, women. And so you see that this curiosity is for the men have the same curiosity and paint the same kind of scenes.
Absolutely.
So, rightly or wrongly, they felt that the salon male artists claimed the lion's share in treating women work. Yeah, because the problem is that you have to go and train. It's one of the facts. But then you have to exhibit and to make a living, to make a career. And the exhibition, who were in the jury? Just male. Right. So how do you expect women to have medals, to be exhibited in good places if the jury are the men? After, when your painting in the exhibition, who are the critics? Mainly, the critics are male. So you have this kind of way of receiving the painting. Oh, this is so nice, this is so cute, you can see. And it's a long path, and it's not because you train, it is not because you can, when you have this achievement, you have to exhibit to make a career, and you never have to forget what happened in economical terms. In fact, one of the reasons women had so much difficulties to train is because they were potential competition for male artists. It is a moment when there were more and more artists wanting to attend the training at the École des Beaux-Arts, wanted to exhibit at the salon. And so many people, for very few commissions, for very few, commission, and so women coming, it was another competition. There was a competition between men, and they didn't want to have another competition with artists. So it was one of the reasons that said, okay, no, please stay at home. This is your place. We need to make a living. We don't need it.
Right. I want to, just for time, Laurence, I want to go to the case of Henri Fantin-Latour, because this speaks to your point just beautifully, and the relationship that he had with his wife, Victoria Dubourg, who was a fantastic, accomplished still life painter, yet in the 5 group portraits that he makes, he always excludes her. And so can you just speak a bit too about these types of artist marriages where the inequality is even perhaps more pronounced because of their seeming alliance?
Yes, there is a case of Marie Bracon who had to stop painting because her husband was, and Jane Baker, who is here, wrote an essay in the catalogue on this case of Marie Bracon, which was very unfortunate in her marriage and in her career. Here we have 2 women, but I would like to have the other slide. Okay, you have all the men here gathered, Fantin-Latour, friends, the big, wonderful, romantic male, and this, I love Delacroix, of course, but you see all these men, and who is not here is Victoria Dubourg, who was Henri Fantin-Latour's wife, who was an accomplished painter, just like you said, and who painted some painting that her husband would sign, and who had never her own existence. And this is the way he represents her, not painting. Okay, read, stay like that. Doesn't, and she made still lives. You just can't say if it is Fantin-Latour or if it's Victoria Dubourg. And she had absolutely no acknowledgement from her husband. Degas saw her strong personality in this painting, where she was not painting.
But it's at least more of an acknowledgement than Fantin-Latour ever gave her by including the still life in the background.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And then to Marie Bracon,
of course, who had this, I guess her husband was had a kind of jealousy for her, because he was a very important man in the area of the arts and crafts, a very important position, exhibiting as a first exposition des impressionnistes, but at some point he did not help at all his life career, and at the opposite, tried to make her stop.
Exactly. So we're reaching our conclusion, and it feels good to end with an artist like Rosa Bonheur, but in so many ways she's such a complicated figure in terms of the place she still holds in the history of art. Would you agree? And maybe you can speak a little bit to this portrait, which doesn't look anything like her, really, where she's become ultra feminized. If you want to, and then maybe you could speak to the animal. So
first, she has this cow, which is a cow, an actual cow, but it is a reference to Saint-Luc, of course, which is always represented with a cattle like that. And in fact, it is very difficult because she has this glory and so on. But when she died, some women would write well, but she had no children. Just like she in order to be an accomplished artist, she had to adopt all the men behavior, the clothes, as we said, and she had to renounce to what was her femininity in order to have this career. So it's a very, very strange position. Do you what is the woman in Rosa Bonheur? She is a woman, but she had to adopt all even the love affairs.
Exactly. And then we have another demoralizing chair.
Absolutely. It's just
right from the point.
Yeah, Linda, in fact, the story is very, very heavy because it started with Ruskin and his book on lilies, and women have to be in their own realm, stay at home. What they have to do is to help their husband to have their own accomplishments. So, and this position of Ruskin had such a success, and you see it all over and over again during the century. And of course, when Lida Nochlin writes a wonderful, famous sentence that now, thanks to Dior, we have everywhere, she takes this quotation from a very long tradition, always what, well, okay, but women never made the Apollon du Belvédère, of course.
Exactly. So, Laurence, I want to thank you so much for all that you've done for... from today, that there's still so much work to be done in the field of 19th century French studies, or 19th century studies in general, and 18th century studies, and 20th century studies. And so because of time, we will not take questions now, but we'll stick around if you'd like to come and meet Laurence and ask her a question about the exhibition. But again, I want to thank you for everything that you've done. We are thrilled to have these paintings with us throughout the summer through Labor Day, and I encourage you all to come often. There are so many things to learn through each of these 69 objects.
Thank you very much for the job you did in the show, displaying the works, hanging them. I'm very happy.
Thank you, Laurence.
Thank you.